Okay, welcome back. Now we dive into how much, how fast, and how often, right? So this is all about basically the bidding and budgeting. It's also, there's some advanced settings that'll help control how fast you deliver your ads, and then kind of even basically how often, right? So the one thing you drive into when you get started is obviously the budget, right? And this is basically the portion where it's going to control how much you spend on a daily basis. And like I've just got $1 in here, so you can set it whatever you want, but this is basically where you're going to control your ultimate spend within the account. Now you need to be aware that it can go as above as 20% higher, and that is on a daily basis. But Google will try and kind of counterbalance that back out. So maybe you'll go to 121 day, and then the next day you'll dive down to 80. Right. So it kind of balances it out. So it's a 30-day overall budget. So that's basically how they disperse that throughout the system. And then under that is how fast it's done, right? So now you have your daily budget that's in there, and within your daily budget, that's going to be, run every single day unless you've put a scheduling up here, as far as when to start and stop on it. But your delivery method is basically kind of like your open sign is a good analogy for it, because with the standard delivery, basically what's going to happen is it's going to turn your light on in the morning. You're going to stay open for a little bit. You're going to make a few sales, and then your open sign is going to turn back off until the middle of the day, right? And then basically you're going to have, lunch or whatever and flip it back on to handle the lunch crowd. And then, it's siesta time in the afternoon, so we're going to flip it back off, and we're going to wait till maybe 5 or 6 in the evening and turn it back on until we're closed at 9. Now, again, basically what it's going to try and do is disperse your budget throughout the entire day, and it's going to break it up where it may turn your ad on and off or pull it in and out of auctions where it might still be qualified for, because of the fact that it's trying to make sure you get a good even amount at each rate. Now, again, the bad byproduct of that is potentially if, say, in the morning you have 3 or 4 sales, and that last click that you get and before it shuts off is somebody that was just kind of window shopping, but they go and they do their window shopping and they try and come back and find you a little bit later. Well, your budget may not allow, because of that, for you to be there. So it's really kind of one of those games you have to play. And I always recommend everybody to typically go with the accelerated delivery, because what it's going to do is it's going to turn your open sign off, and you're going to sell until you run out of product, basically. So that person, unless you just basically run out of money and don't have the money to continue to show ads throughout the day, that person that was window shopping, you're still going to be able to capitalize on and make sure you convert them. So that's why I always tell going with accelerated. And you can also monitor this through the reports section that we introduced in the previous modules, and show where the time of day, exactly when your ads are shutting off, so you can go back in and actually reinvest. I mean, as a small business owner, you're probably very acute to selling products and reinvesting back in your business, and that's exactly what this is designed to be for you. It's designed to give you a bunch of sales as fast as possible, as long as your budget allows it, and then you, after making those sales, can take that profit and reinvest if you want to continue to show longer throughout the day. Or you can just leave it where it is, and you just know that, hey, after 1 or 2 in the afternoon, on most cases, my ads aren't going to show anymore, right? But I'm happy with the sales making in the morning. So it's completely up to you what you want to do. But in my opinion, and what I've always recommended all my clients is go with the accelerated delivery, because I want to be there for as long as somebody's trying to look for me, right? Now, the next section that we're going to dive into is the bidding section. Now, within this campaign, it's a search campaign. It also is doing just website traffic. So with this, you're only going to have a limited amount of bidding options compared to maybe a campaign that's been running for a long time, has a lot of data, and is a lead-driven campaign, right? So we don't have anything attached to it at this point in time. So conversions and conversion value are they're not capable bidding methods at this point. Those are ones that you have to wait until you get 15 conversions in the account over a 30-day period. So once you get that in the account, then those will pop up and be available for you, where you can actually start bidding on a cost per click method or a cost per acquisition method, or basically an overall conversion value. Right, so that's a lot better what I try and get all my accounts to. So I always try and really display or put into action the strategy of making sure that I kind of front load my campaigns with enough data so that I can get to the point where I can get to the CPA or the more effective bidding methods that are using smart learning or some of the AI stuff to drive more conversions to the account, right? So within this, you're looking at clicks and impression share. Now, the clicks, obviously, it's performance based, so it doesn't matter how much you show up. It's basically the only time you're ever going to pay is if somebody clicks and engages with your ad. Now, the one thing about that that a lot of people have a question about is, either with call only ads or, with click ads, like what if they just go to my website and they bounce off? Like, is there any sort of duration guarantee? And that's not in there, right? Unfortunately, if they click on your website, they click on your ad and you go to your website and they bounce off for one reason or another, then you still pay for that click. It's also the same thing with calls. Whenever you're basically, somebody clicks on their mobile phone and it goes to ask them if they want to complete the phone call and they click cancel, then you're still charged for that click, unfortunately. So those are the only things. And, if they click on it and they do say okay, but they hang up within the first 3 seconds, you're still charged for that click in that scenario, right? So there is some, potential, loss there. But for the most part, it's going to be your most effective bidding method before you get data in there, because it's literally, they have to make an action and engage with your ad in order for you to actually be charged. The impression share, it's a little different. It's a new one that just came out, and it has about 3 different options where it's anywhere on the results on the page, top of results page, or absolute top of page. So basically, this is anywhere in the paid ads, and this is, in those top above the fold ads, and this is going to be absolute top of the page. So the first, the first position, basically. And I don't really ever recommend absolute first position. A lot of times you'll end up overpaying for it because people will typically go at least a couple, 2 or 3 ads down within what they're searching. So the top of page results is usually what I've always gone for when I've used any sort of impression-based bidding like this. But I haven't honestly had any experience with this one because they just launched it this week. So, I'll report back within the Facebook group and with also, update the video if it kind of needs to be changed as far as strategy wise. But ultimately what this is going to do is you're going to put a percentage in here, and it's going to basically determine that there's this many auctions that are in, available auctions. Let's say just use a round number as 1,000, right? And if I'm going to want a 50% impression share, then I'm going to have a either top of page or absolute top of page to a 50% effect. So out of 1,000 searches, I'm going to show up 500% or 500 out of those 1,000 searches, right? Now, the other thing that they've started to do that they used to not have with some of these impression models was the CPC bid limiter. So this is something that definitely recommend you using because depending on what industry you're in, you may have some competitors or somebody that doesn't know or somebody with really deep pockets that just is intent on being in that top position, right? And if you try and compete with them without some sort of caveat or some basically throttle on that, then you can really get yourself in a lot of trouble or just blow through your budget and get no return on that, right? So the other aspect of bidding that you can pick is the bid strategy aspects. Now, I've covered it in the previous method. It's in the shared library. It's where you can create a bid strategy, whether CPA, CPC, or even these impression models that they have. You basically create one and you can make it synonymous across all your accounts, right? So that's something that it's really, you need to get more data and kind of more of an advanced tool, and we'll cover that in the accelerated section. But these are the ways that you can basically put the new bidding models into effect, either at an existing portfolio, or you can do a new portfolio if you want to create that. So if you do the existing, it's going to go ahead and search the shared library for that portfolio. If you do a new one, then you're going to create it from this level, and it's going to actually put it still in the shared library, right? So these ones are a little bit more advanced. I just kind of wanted to show you that. So if you click on them, you don't really know, but I would really recommend you stick primarily to just doing a campaign level bidding strategy. It'll just help you keep things a lot straighter and data a lot simpler. And I've always been to the mindset where the simpler and easier you can figure out the numbers attains a faster result, right? Quite frankly. So within the bidding and budgeting models, this is really how you control how much, how fast, and how often, right? And when you go down into the additional advanced settings, you've got some conversion settings down here. You can also set your ad schedule. So if maybe I don't want to turn I have a brick and mortar store that doesn't open until 8 a.m. and we're only open Monday through Fridays, I can come in here and I can do, 8 a.m. And this is going to result back to whatever your base account level is, right? So based on the account time zone, which is Pacific for me. Now remember, I'm going to reinforce this, and any new accounts, you can't change that. So, and then it's in military time. So let's say we're open until 5 p.m. So that'd be 1700, right? And you just go ahead and apply that. Now, this is going to be a little different within the live account. Right? So in the live account, you're going to see in the settings, you have your bidding and budgeting here. Looks very similar. It still has the delivery method. The bidding and budgeting is right there. You have your start and end dates. Right? Now, the next thing, and how often is this ad rotation method, right? The ad rotation is basically going to either optimize your ads or it's going to show them continuously. So I always choose to do optimize, perform, best performing ads, right? The do not optimize thing, if you have 3 ads that are running and one of them is just performing outrageously better and is getting you outrageously cheaper clicks, it's still going to show those other 2 ads that aren't doing as well and costing you more money. So that's why with the do not optimize, it's something that there's very few scenarios, and honestly, you have to kind of figure them out yourselves, because I really don't know what they are. Because ultimately, like these, I'm a numbers guy, and if a ad is getting a significantly better CTR, that's going to contribute to a significantly better quality score and save me money, and that's ultimately what I want to happen. Now, in the campaign creation aspect of things, you can go into these and do kind of site links and additional ad extensions before you're creating the campaign. I definitely recommend doing those, but hold off on those a little bit until we get into the ad extensions. You can, maybe your next campaign, you can go ahead and apply that. Now, the other thing that I want to go in and show you is the difference within the actual dashboards for a display campaign. So the one thing that you really like, there's going to be ultimately display campaigns, and YouTube campaigns are they have creatives, right? They have visual images. They're a little bit more engaging. They have obviously video content or image content, and sometimes that can be outdated, right? If on search we have the advantage of somebody, if you're showing up in front of somebody, it's typically because they're searching for it. They have the keyword they've typed in, they've had some sort of audience interaction with you. Where within display, we do retargeting with those. So with display, you're going to have the ability to adjust basically how often your ad shows up to them. Like if it shows up once every week or 2 times every week if they click on it, or an impression. And that's something we'll go much more in depth on the accelerated program. So definitely, if you haven't upgraded to that, dive into that, because it'll take your AdWords and just even your Google performance to the next level. So that's about all I need to cover in the Accelerator or the advanced ad settings here. Now with the ad settings, again, that we've covered today, this is really going to make sure and control, again, how much, how often, and how fast any of your ads and your money is being spent. It's also going to control how fast that money is being returned back into your pocket. So pay very close attention to it, and I'll see you in the next video.